Dave Weinberg, longtime Eagles beat writer from the Press of Atlantic City, 26 seasons on the Eagle beat. And there's always stories around this team, Dave, as we know. This week it seems to be a lot around the injuries, and I want to get your thoughts. Jason Peters, you tweeted out he was practicing today despite a torn bicep, and it looks like he's going to play, so the Eagles feel like he's going to make it through this thing.
Yeah, Doug Peterson said today that he's not concerned at all about it. I would be, but it seems like the kind of injury where you can play through it, and I guess they think that an injured Jason Peters is better than a healthy Big V. So Jason will be out there on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. We had the doc on Thursday's show, or actually Friday's show, because the Eagles played Thursday, so he came on the day after and talked about it. And he said there are certain bicep tears that actually relieve pain for some of these guys. He mentioned like John Elway, that sometimes there's a certain part of the arm area that it actually helps them if they were experiencing pain before. Now, I don't know if that's the case with Jason Peters, but it seems like it's the lower area. And he said it's very common for guys to be able to play with that injury.
Oh, how about that? I would have thought it'd be kind of difficult for an offensive lineman.
Yep.
I would think you need both your arms to keep that defensive end at bay, but the doctors would know better than me.
Yeah.
Of course.
Lane Johnson, another one. I mean, he was a late addition to the injury report last week, Dave, and now just sitting out today. Was it more of a precautionary thing?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think his ankle injury was pretty severe from what I understand. I mean, his teammates were pretty impressed that he was able to tough it out for as long as he did against the Giants. You know, whether he re-aggravated, I'm not sure, but maybe that's the reason that they're keeping Vitae out, because in case Jason can't go, maybe their Lane gets injured again. Maybe they want Big V to be able to go in at right tackle.
Dave, look at some other injuries. All right, Corey Graham at safety. They brought Dexter McDougal in. Sidney Jones most likely going to miss the game. So what's that secondary looking like right now?
You know, that's a tough one. I mean, Avante was supposed to be the starting safety, but he moved into the slot when Sidney went down. I'm guessing they're going to maybe, because Dexter played for the Eagles last year for roughly half the year, he was the backup slot corner behind Patrick Robinson, and I guess that because he knows the system, maybe he'll be the one that goes out there if they really need him to.
Last week we saw Rasul Douglas move to safety in almost like a panic situation, but a pinch. Right. They needed somebody. Right. Do we anticipate seeing more of that with Sidney Jones out? Will they use Maddox more and give Rasul more snaps at safety?
Yeah, that could be too. I mean, they view Maddox as a pretty versatile guy. I mean, that's why they drafted him. They view him as a guy who can play almost every position as far as the secondary is concerned. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know. I'm not real sure how they thought Rasul played at safety against the Giants. The Panthers might be more of a challenge, but I guess it all depends on how McDougal does in practice this week. If a couple of days of practice is enough to get him up to speed.
Now, Dave, I saw you tweet the other day, forget running back. If I'm the Eagles, I'm going after Patrick Peterson and or Amari Cooper. We just talked a lot about the injuries in the secondary, but Amari Cooper, wide receiver, still a problem for you?
I would think the secondary is probably a bigger one, but you're going to have to give up a first-round pick if you want Patrick Peterson. Personally, I think it's worth it. I think he's one of the best in the league, if not the best. Plus, he's a very good punt returner as well, which gives you that added dynamic. Although DeAndre Carter's played pretty well in Darren Sproles' absence in that role. But I'm still not sold on Jordan Matthews being the answer as far as the added wide receiver. I mean, he's an okay player, but I know Amari Cooper hasn't played very well. But I kind of tend to think that maybe that's just because of all the dysfunction that's going on in Oakland. I think he's got a lot of talent, and if you can get him for maybe a third-round pick or even a second, I think I might take a flyer on him.
Dave, your Sunday column in the Press of Atlantic City said it's still too early to tell if the Eagles are legit contenders. So is this week a big week to figure out who this team is?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, Carolina's a legitimate playoff contender. I mean, they're fighting it out with New Orleans for the AFC South. They're coming off a loss in Washington, obviously, so I don't know how good they are. But, this was kind of like the similar scenario as last season when the Eagles went down to Carolina and pulled out that win on Thursday. And that seemed to be the springboard for them to go on a little bit of a roll there. And I can see that happening again this year too. If they can get past the Panthers, play well, I think that might give them like that extra boost of confidence that they need to maybe at least take control of the NFC East.
Yeah, you look at what they did against the Giants. The one thing I will say is I thought in the second half against the Vikings, they might have turned the corner a little bit. Even though they didn't win the game, they had the fumble by Ajayi, but at least they had some sort of rhythm going on offense in the second half of that game. The defense, I think, has been playing well all year. So I looked at that game, the second half of Minnesota, said, all right, they're turning the corner, and then they do what they did against the Giants. And I anticipate seeing this team kind of get its bearings under them here. Do you feel the same way about them offensively, that they're finally kind of, gotten the rust knocked off and that they got the timing a little bit better?
Yeah, it seemed Jason Kelce kind of alluded to that today, that they've had a lot of injuries, but it's kind of different than last year because they have some people that know their roles and know what to do when they're called upon. And it was just a situation, like you said, of Carson coming back, getting the rust knocked off a little bit. He's looked a little bit better each week. I thought he had a very good game against the Giants. And so, yeah, I'm with you there. I think that if they can keep it up against Carolina and Jacksonville in England, Jacksonville in London, then go into the bye week with a little bit of a winning streak going and a little bit of momentum, I can see them really starting to make a run here.
Yeah, and Dave, the game against Carolina last year was on a Thursday night down there. That was kind of like I think I believe in this team a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the Panthers were favored. They were playing well at the time, but the Eagles were able to pull it out. And like I said, that seemed to be kind of like the springboard for them for the rest of the year. That was like the big win that they really needed and they got. I don't know that this is quite the same scenario, but I do think that, especially coming off a loss at home, which they're not used to doing, if they can turn it around and get that home field advantage back on their side, I think that'll bode well for them going forward.
Yeah, as they had a couple extra days off too to prepare for this. Do you sense more positivity flowing through NovaCare?
They're kind of people were trying to get them to say that they got their swagger back, and Fletcher Cox was he refused to take the bait. He said, it was good that we got
savvy
the win.
veteran.
It's good that he had some rust, but he's not. He said, we're not back yet. I mean, just because we won one game, if we have to win two in a row, to get a winning streak going, and maybe after that, maybe we'll have a little bit more confidence. But he wasn't buying into the we're back and everything's all hunky-dory yet.
All right, Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City covering the Eagles and the Carolina Panthers at the link. And, of course, the Eagles and Panthers right here on 97.3 ESPN. One thing about this game, too, is you got Cam Newton. The Eagles, in the past, Newton's a big physical kind of guy. Last week you had Barkley, a tough guy to tackle. The tackling hasn't been great this year, and I'm interested with McCaffrey and Cam Newton. If the Eagles, they're going to have their hands full with those two guys. Yeah, they are. I mean, Cam especially, he's just as dangerous as a runner than as a passer, if not more so. They've generally done a pretty good job of containing him in the past, so they seem to kind of know how to figure it out. I'm assuming they're going to have a spy on him, maybe Nigel Branham or somebody like that, to try and keep him contained a little bit. And McCaffrey's he's a really versatile guy as well. He's probably better as a pass receiver than as a runner, and although he's a very good running back as well. So yeah, these two guys in combination, they kind of pose a challenge that you don't see from a whole lot of teams. Yeah, and I remember this time last year when they played McCaffrey, he wasn't quite integrated in the offense fully as much as he is right now. He's clearly their guy now. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's really developed into the dynamic player that they were envisioning when they drafted him. All right, Dave. Eagles, Carolina, you feeling good? You like this game? I know last week you were pretty confident with that Eagle-Giant game. Yeah, I was, and I'm not quite as confident this week, but I do have a feeling that the Eagles are going to pull it out. I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty close game, though. A lot depends on how that offensive line shakes out, with the injuries to Jason and Lane.
if they're able to bounce back and go the whole way, then I like the Eagles. But if they got to start mixing and matching a little bit, I'm not so sure.
All right, Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City here on the Sports Bash, and you can follow Dave on Twitter at PressACWeinberg for more on the Eagles-Panthers Sunday matchup. Thanks, Dave.
Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it as always.